In hour 21, we are treated to yet another masterpiece of Euripides, this one called the Bacchae, which literally means women possessed. Possessed by whom? Possessed by Bacchus, aka Dionysus. The larger-than-life passion that is experienced by Pentheus, who is the number one hero of the Bacchae. This experience, this primal passion, is something that corresponds to what you and I would call emotion when we have similar life-size experiences that correspond to these larger-than-life experiences. And that is why the word pathos is so especially important in this particular hour. We've seen the word before, but here it really comes together. And in fact, pathos as a word that can refer to the larger-than-life passion of a hero is also the best way to understand the word drāma, which really has to do with a sacrifice in which the entire community participates. I don't want to give it away, but the relationship of pathos and drāma, the larger-than-life passion of Pentheus, and the drāma, which is all about the dismemberment of this unfortunate king by the female members of his own family. The way these two words interact is really one way to think of the essence of tragedy, or even the origins of tragedy. We will come to a place here in the Bacchae where the tragedy actually gives a myth about the origins of tragedy. That's pretty exciting, but before we can get to that, I want to start with hour 21, text A. I think this is a very good way to get introduced to the whole drama, because here you have a primal example of God-hero antagonism, a relationship that we've been exploring from the very beginnings of this project. In this case, God-hero antagonism involves the lookalikes or near lookalikes, Pentheus the hero and Dionysus the god himself. The way the dialogue here works again brings out the essence of the ancient Greek hero. The words that are used by the characters of Pentheus and Dionysus, again, are being used so accurately that all the good work that you've been doing in the close reading of all the passages that we have experienced should come to a very satisfying resolution, so to speak, a kind of feeling of completion, because it really all comes together in this tragedy. And you can then really see how the idea of a hero's larger-than-life pathos, or experience, is a way to understand the very essence of a cult hero, or let's say a hero in general. So the Agōn, the confrontation between Pentheus and Dionysus right here in text A, in a way says it all. And when you get to the choral passages of the Bacchae, you will see real gems of the whole idea of the ancient Greek hero in microcosm. I can't think of a better example than hour 21, text D, where what seems to be happening is a picturing of a primordial dismemberment of not just a hero, but of a god. And in this case, the god can be imagined as Dionysus himself, not the Dionysus that everybody is getting used to in the 5th century, where people really need to be defamiliarized in order to understand the primal Dionysus. But yes, that more primal Dionysus seems to come to the surface here in this particular song about a sacrificial animal that is dismembered, maybe, and that in many ways seems to be a stand-in for a sacrificial person who may be even a god. Not an Olympian god. Olympian gods don't die, but pre-Olympian gods, if I can speak in terms of reconstructing the gods of the ancient Greeks, those pre-Olympians do die, and Dionysus, if you reconstruct him far back enough, does die year after year at the right time and right place. Even the costuming of a tragedy like this, which could be called the kosmos, as we see in our 21 text E, gives it away that Athenian state theater, with all of its exterior appearances, including the costuming, is really a way of bringing the cosmos into play and then seeing what happens when you have catastrophe in the world of heroes and then equilibrium in the world of the here and now when we, humans, try to reenact those larger-than-life experiences of the past and make them better by doing it right. And the only way to do that is to keep on doing it season after season, forever and ever. That's the mentality of ritual as the other side of the coin for myth. And in our 21 text F, there is a first-person narrative that, if you read it a certain way, can be seen as the origins of tragedy, not just the essence of tragedy, but the origins of tragedy, where the three meanings of the word Agōn, well, we break them up into three meanings because of our linguistic lack of fit with the ancient Greek, but where the three meanings of this ancient Greek word Agōn come into play, all three of them, coming together, a competition and an ordeal. Coming together, competition, ordeal, they're all here. What you really do see here is, notionally, the origins of tragedy. And then how that feels, what kind of an emotional and aesthetic punch this all has, maybe comes together best in our 21 text G, this beautiful escapist song about a young deer that has escaped the hunters and is reveling in the beauties of nature, which are described as the green pleasures of meadows. I love the way the greenness of meadows washes over into the very idea of what it is to be having pleasures, what it is to have joy. It's all here in the middle of this amazing tragedy. And maybe the best way to summarize it all is in the words of the chorus, as I quote these words in our 21 text H, hotikalon philonaie, whatever is beautiful is near and dear forever. I don't want to spoil the close reading that you will make of these very few but very compressed and important words. But the basic idea is that the beauty and the pleasure that we can derive from such beautiful poetry as we read in Euripides Bacchae, all that beauty and pleasure together are what makes us emotionally who we are. And that's why that beauty and pleasure should be near and dear forever. And that's something that tragedy can give us if we just give back to tragedy a close reading.